I said it before and I'll say it again.
That scene, that last scene.
What does it mean?
I'm the dude, you know?
Get the fuck out of here. No, I cannot. That final scene starts now.
Hello everyone. Welcome back to That Final Scene, the podcast where we dive deep into the endings of iconic films. I am Sophie, your host, and as always, I'm joined by my wonderful co-hosts, Ben and Simon. Hello.
Hello.
How are you doing?
Good. Struggling with the heat. It's
Not
too
too
hot.
shabby.
Yeah. Simon, you love the heat, I feel like. I feel like you're very much
I've got into it.
at home in the summer. Me, winter all the way. God.
I like winter because you can not sweat when you go on your bike somewhere.
Yeah.
But what did you do over the week? Because it was pretty shit over the week.
I went to Italy, actually.
What?
Yeah.
I don't know about
I
that.
didn't know about this, yeah.
Go
I
on.
went to a wedding. Some friends got married there.
Wow.
Went to Cinque Terre, which is in Liguria. And
That's that really colourful village, isn't it, on the coast?
Yeah, it's 5 villages, and they live in this. Well, the wedding was in this tiny little village near one of the main ones called Campiglia,
Nice.
Wow.
and it was like paradise. Like,
I've seen the pictures, and they're all like built, like these really colourful houses built into a cliff face. aren't
yeah,
they?
it's just like that.
I think there's actually a Disney film that uses that as the backdrop. I think that Disney film, Luca.
Luca, yeah, that's set in
Luca
Liguria.
uses
Yeah.
it as the backdrop, yeah.
Yeah.
So if you watch that,
Nice fun fact,
Always tying
Ben.
it back to films, eh?
Thank you. You're doing good work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What can I say?
Awesome. So you didn't get to watch any films?
well, I did actually.
Oh, did you?
On the plane, I
I'm
watched
surprised. Okay.
Sideways.
Was it like did you download it or did you get a screen on the on the
I always
plane?
have Sideways on my iPad for such occasions.
From
For like
li-
break in case you need to watch Sideways
Yeah.
type things.
Did you torrent it or?
It's a paid for Apple TV
nice.
job.
Nice. Thank you,
And
Apple.
I fucking loved it. Because
Nice.
it's been that right amount of time since I've last watched it. And it was excellent.
Do you want to tell people what it's about?
It's Paul Giamatti plays this depressive English teacher called Miles. His life's not gone very well. He's got divorced. And it's his mate Jack's sort of stag week that's coming up. And he's taken him to a wine valley in California for a week. But Jack's incredibly selfish in the funniest ways possible. And so Miles just wants to drink wine and like have a friend. And Jack just wants to have sex before he gets married with as many people as possible.
Good Lord.
And it's an amazing combination of... I think it's one of my favourite comedy films of all time.
Just try to be your normal, humorous self, okay? The guy you were before the tailspin. Do you remember that guy? People love that guy. And don't forget, your novel is coming out in the fall.
Oh, really? How exciting. What's it called?
Come here, Miles. Come here.
Have you seen it, Ben?
I don't think I have. I think I've seen bits of it, but I don't think I've watched it.
Have you not seen it?
I need to
Oh,
watch
right,
it.
okay.
I know of it though. I've seen clips
It's
of it.
very memeable. Like I've seen memes.
It's just really beautifully put together. There's loads of humanity in it and lots of very, very funny lines and visual jokes. And it's really emotional as well because like you really feel for Miles. You know, he's really depressed. His book's not getting published. He's kind of all on his own. And Jack's just comically selfish and just gets into all these scrapes all the time.
Do not sabotage me. If you want to be a fucking lightweight, then that's your call, but do not sabotage me.
Oh, aye, Captain, you got it.
And if they want to drink Merlot, we're drinking Merlot.
No, if anybody orders Merlot, I'm leaving. I am not drinking any fucking Merlot!
Okay, relax, Miles. Jesus, no Merlot. Did you bring your Xanax?
There's a scene towards the end where Jack's got caught with some girl and he's had his nose boxed in and he's got like a cast on his nose and stuff. And he needs an excuse for when he gets home, like why he's got to have this, like why he's got this broken nose. So he makes Miles crash his car by putting a brick on the accelerator and pointing it at a tree.
Oh my god!
But like it's like a comedy situation where the car goes towards the tree, but then it like swerves randomly and misses the tree and goes miles away.
Oh god!
And then they have to think of another way to like explain it. It's really, really funny.
Nice.
I mean, the dynamic of the relationship reminds me of With Neil and I. Like these two be like selfish and depressed, kind of. Yeah, I don't know.
Because I did see a question online, someone saying online the other day of like, what's your favorite comedy film? And actually, of all kind of film genres, I think comedy is like the hardest one to answer that question because it's such a subjective question, and it really like, and also like for me, kind of depends on my mood. Like with action movies and stuff like that, I can kind of be like, oh yeah, I know I'm going to sit down and watch that. Whereas it really depends on kind of what mood I'm in if I'm picking a comedy film to watch. I think it's a really difficult question to ask.
Like I can always watch A Bourne Identity, whatever, anytime, no matter what. It'll just take my mind off whatever it is and take me somewhere else. Whereas I can't just dip into a comedy. I can't waste the comedy.
No, exactly. I'm the same with like a Bond or a Mission Impossible film. Like it's very easy to dip in and out of. But something like even like watching Bridesmaids. With comedy, you really need to give it all your attention because the jokes won't land if you're not paying attention all the time. It's almost like watching a drama or like a thriller in which there's twists and turns. You need to pay attention for the whole thing to actually get the most value out of a comedy.
Sideways is definitely in my top 10 films of all time, partly because me and my friend Mark did a trip to California a few years ago, like a road trip, and we ended up realizing we were doing a lot of the same vineyards that are featured in Sideways.
Okay.
And then we really ended up enjoying it even more because...
Then you tried to crash the car.
Yeah, pretty much.
Nice.
It was one of those holidays where like I'd like been in charge of like booking the hire car and I'd obviously chosen the cheapest, shittiest hire car. But we got to the hire place in LA and they were like, showed us the catalogue and they're like, but do you want this one? And they flopped open like a Dodge Charger and me and Mark were like, yep, immediately.
Coolest car you have.
Yeah, the coolest, most underpowered car you've got.
Probably the most expensive they had in the catalogue as well.
That's like a great recommendation, though. Thank you.
It's incredible. Yeah. Absolutely incredible. And it's aged really well, like a fine wine. It's not got any clangers in it.
It's very, again, I mean, with comedy, it's hard, isn't it?
And also, it's put together, it's masterfully put together, but it's also very simple. There's lots of like just really old school like fade transitions. It's almost a bit like a sitcom in the way it's put together because it's not relying on production values to be clever and funny. It's very well acted. It's very well written. That's what makes
probably
it great.
A relatively small budget film.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, it must have been before Paul got really big time. I would have thought.
It's kind of early 2000s, isn't it?
I think so. Yeah.
I think he was kind of starting to get big around then, wasn't he? Like
it's the director that did About Schmidt. I think is the one that did it.
Okay.
Yeah. And there's Sandra Oh is in it.
Oh, right.
And she's the love interest of Jack, his reckless friend. And I don't think she was well known at the time. And she's now
like Grey's Anatomy.
Grey's Anatomy.
Yeah. Okay.
Probably that was your...
I'll try and hopefully I'll try and watch it by the time we record the next
I also think it's a good parent-friendly film as well, because like it's the film that I quite enjoy going home and being like, oh, Mum, Dad, do you fancy watching Sideways? And they're like, yeah. And we can all enjoy it together.
It's not like a Love Actually or a Four Weddings and a Funeral where you need to be like, and at this point I'm going to leave the room.
Actually, there's a couple of sex scenes in it, actually.
Okay.
But it's not gratuitous and they're really quick and it's very funny. So it's like...
okay, as long as there's some comedy in it, then we're fine.
Yeah. Maybe we should start maybe there's a product in having embarrassing scenes pre-flagged in films.
Oh yeah,
does that already exist?
No, there should be.
Okay.
Maybe it does already exist, but it should. Like on
so your
Netflix,
phone is listening, right? Your phone detects what film you're listening to, and it gives you a 5-minute warning, and it starts vibrating. It's like you might want to leave the room in T-3 minutes.
Or like on YouTube where you have at the bottom you can see the little gold bars where you're about to get an ad.
Yeah.
On Netflix there's just like a red bar because that's the point you have to leave the room.
Wait,
for 5 minutes.
What's the comedy film where they invent a startup called Mr. Skin, and it's like it actually is to show where the naked bits are in films, so kids can like find them really quickly.
Oh, I don't know.
I have no
It's a classic. It's like like a 2000s film, I think.
Okay. Well, we need to get the Reese Witherspoon to invest in this startup idea because it sounds like a ready-made product for me.
Yeah. What about you guys? What have you been doing?
I haven't been watching that much. Like I watched Extraction 2 last week, which is...
Me too.
Did you watch it as well?
Yeah.
Okay. Interested to know. What did you think?
I liked it more than the first one.
Yeah, I thought it was better than the first one. I mean, it has just the stupidest premise ever because basically at the end
What are they extracting?
Well, people. So he's
okay.
like... It's not as stupid as like the Jason Statham films where his job title is transporter. It's just called Extraction because he gets people out of places and, But it was
Gun for Hire, sort of.
Yeah, it's kind of
Mercenary.
like it's kind of like John Wick, like but dialed up even more so. It's just like 2 hours of like wall to wall gunfire and Chris Hemsworth being dashingly handsome and kicking the shit out of people, and it's good. I thought it was good. I mean, it's just turn your brain off and just don't really pay attention to the story because it starts with them trying to explain how we know he's dead at the end of the last film, but this is how he's alive, and. Because when I heard
is that what's going to happen in Bond? I keep thinking, what are they going to do?
It's a typical like Netflix comeback story. So because I heard an interview with a director and he was like, the original idea was we get to kill him in the first one and be done with it. But because it was so massive, like when
it was so popular.
When Extraction came out on Netflix, it was the most watched film on Netflix of all time.
Yeah.
So Netflix were like, here's the
kind of,
money
yeah,
and here's an idea for a sequel. Let's make it happen.
Kind of riding that like John Wick kind of wave of movies
Exactly.
of just like wall-to-wall action sequences and like gun fu, as they call it.
I just
Netflix
thought
has
it
got
was
the
very-
prequel script for Insertion ready.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, to give the film a bit more credit, because I think, Ben, you're right. I thought it was better than the first one, and two, the action scenes are incredible.
Yeah.
Like it gave me Raid vibes in some areas.
Especially towards the end when in the hotel.
Yeah. And what I didn't know, maybe you knew already, is that the director used to be the stuntman of Chris Evans.
Oh yes, I'd heard that. Yeah, because you see quite a lot of those films like that are stuntman led. Yeah, because all the John Wick, or at least the first John Wick movie it's a former stuntman who's the director.
Exactly. So it's cool
and
to
kind
see
of
someone like a
understands it.
stuntman actually direct a film because they know things firsthand. So I thought like some of there was this one shot film scene, the beginning of the film, like one shot, like single shot.
Continuous.
The beginning
one
of the
continuous
film.
shot in the prison.
Yeah. That was so well done.
Yeah.
So, I mean, ignore the story.
Is
Enjoy
it one of those ones where the camera goes through windows and stuff? And
Yeah, and like the camera's you're getting knocked over with him kind of thing.
cool.
Yeah.
It felt like being in a game, like in that scene.
Yeah,
almost,
well, it was very like Birdman, but with action, like kind
exactly.
of constantly following him around.
Yeah. So,
that-
I love it when you watch the making of those shots and you see them like on like cherry pickers passing a really big camera gear like between cars and skateboards and dollies.
I think those things are incredible. Like I think, and films like those action films, I think need to start getting a bit more credit when it comes to like cinematography. Obviously, everybody said, and editing as well. To like have these 5 or 6 minute shots where you have so much like camera work and visual work and tricks going into it. A really good one to watch, and it's not even an action sequence, is watch the behind the scenes of the dancing scene in Last Night in Soho with Matt, the Edgar Wright film. And because in the dancing sequence, it's Matt Smith dancing with Anya Taylor-Joy and Thomasine McKenzie, who are like, it's not really like Thomasine McKenzie in the film is going back in time and seeing this woman's like this tragedy or this event happen to her play out. And in the scene, it's the two of them swapping in and out and dancing. So it's amazing to watch the two actresses, like if you look at it back, them kind of jumping around and then kind of crouching behind other people, waiting to be out of camera to then be able to swap as they do like pirouettes and stuff. It's amazing.
Beautiful.
And I think stuff like that needs to get, that's what I think the deeper and deeper I get into like watching and analysing films, that's the kind of shit I really appreciate. I always thought that about Birdman when it came out. I was like, fucking hell, this is incredible to be able to sustain that and it be interesting and not feel like you need a break after 90 minutes is incredible. And stuff like all these action sequences that you're getting in films now where they are just going, fuck it, let's just try one continuous shot and it's 6 minutes of fight sequences is just crazy. Fair play to Chris Hemsworth as well. It's some amount of physical exertion to do that because I think he does quite a lot of his own stuff as well.
I think so too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I really enjoyed Extraction 2. I started watching The Witcher as well. Season 3 of The Witcher has started on Netflix.
Early reactions? I haven't bothered, but
Yeah, okay. I mean, I'm only like 2 or 3 episodes in, I think.
that's the final season with Henry Cavill.
Yeah,
right?
it's changing to, what's his name? Liam Hemsworth, actually. Chris Hemsworth's brother is
The
taking
Hemsworth
over after this. So I am interested to see when they get to the end of the season how they deal with that. But yeah, so far, okay. I mean, at least stuff that I've read about the season and like reviews and stuff of it have said it's the most coherent. And it does kind of feel like that. Like the last 2 seasons are a little bit, especially the first season, feels all over the place, like timeline wise. It's kind of hard to know what's going on. And this one seems to be a little bit better. And then I'm 2 episodes into the new Marvel Secret Invasion TV show, which is...
I was the first episode. I thought it was so boring.
Yeah, I watched the second episode. I mean, it's trying to like recreate what they did with Winter Soldier and have the Cold War kind of espionage feel to it.
Yeah.
And it's not really hitting yet. It's got such a good cast in it, which is kind of why I'm gonna like. It's like really good English actors in it as well. Like Olivia Colman's in it, Emilia Clarke's in it, Kingsley Ben-Adir, I think he's English as well, is in it. And obviously like Samuel L. Jackson and Ben Mendelsohn. So I'm gonna give it the time. I think it's not like when I watched Halo. It's not the same, but yeah, it's definitely a slower burn. That's for sure.
Yeah.
What else have you watched other than the first episode of Secret Invasion and Extraction?
Well, okay, I finished Silo on Apple TV Plus. Everyone's
Rebecca
talking
Ferguson
about the
show.
Rebecca Ferguson.
Yeah.
I thought it was so boring. Like we almost hate watched it with
Nice.
Michael. It was one of those shows where we're watching episodes in like we started the episode on Friday, then we watched like a bit of it on Saturday, and then we finished on Sunday. But it wasn't even like we're just doing other like whatever. It didn't really matter. But it was a bit of a disappointment because apparently it's a book that's very beloved and like very out there, and just didn't translate.
What's the premise of the show?
Well, we wake up to it's a sci-fi show. We wake up to a world where people are in a silo underground, and they have their own rules. They have their own judge. They have their own mayor.
Right.
And they don't know why they're not allowed to go out in the world.
So, like the premise from what was it, Cloverfield Lane?
It does feel like that.
Is John Goodman keeping them hostage?
Yeah. Tim Robbins is in it, and he's the judge.
Oh,
So
there you go.
yeah, Common is in it, and I love his music, but he's not supposed to be acting. So
I've never been blown away by Common in a film. Yeah,
he's the enforcer, of the
course.
laws, of course.
Yes.
Yeah, and then it's Rebecca Ferguson, who's like the typical, Jennifer Lawrence in Hunger Games person who's trying to rebel, like is trying to figure out her way out of it, the whole thing. So it was just a bit disappointing, but I feel like I need to mention The Flash because
Oh, you went to see The Flash? I'm not going to pay to see The Flash. I'm just going to say it right now. I'm not going to pay to see it. I'll wait until it's on like some streaming service.
To be fair, I had some view tickets from way back, and I didn't actually pay for that film in particular. I just had them, so I was like, I might as well go. I really enjoyed it. I'm just gonna say it. I had the time of my life. I thought it was really, really good fun. It was great to see Michael Keaton on the big screen. He had like a proper role. It wasn't like a Batman cameo. Like he had like a proper supporting role. Ezra is fantastic. They are what they are, and we know like they're just weird, but at the same time, they are incredibly, talented. So I just really enjoy what they did. The plot made sense. The CGI was awful, as everyone said. I don't know what happened there.
From the trailers, yeah.
I don't know what happened there, but I'm not crazy about CGI. Like if the plot is like if it's a fun movie, I can work with it. And yeah, like it's a couple of really fun cameos, and then the ending is it's just really, really fun.
Okay.
So
Interesting.
I don't know. I think you should watch it maybe when it gets available wherever.
Yeah. It's not done very well though, or at least it's not like done as well as they thought it would, right? Isn't it? They were kind of hoping it to be like the huge big blockbuster that's going to kind of redeem Warner Brothers, and
it's one of
it's
the
just not
biggest.
really happened.
Yeah, it's one of the biggest bombs in box office history. But what did we expect? I mean, there's been zero marketing.
There was too much controversy around that.
Controversy and zero marketing because
What was the controversy?
Ezra Miller.
Ezra Miller, who played the Flash, has had like some allegations and charges brought against them and stuff. It's been quite And the problem is that before all of this, last year, Warner Brothers also just completely cancelled and canned another the Batgirl movie for kind of no reason. That also had Michael Keaton in it, right? He was going to be in that as well.
Yeah.
And Brendan Fraser, and with kind of, they didn't really say why, did they? Or was it they said it wasn't testing well? I think they showed it and it wasn't testing well. And rather than reshoots, they were just like, we're just going to can it.
The actual report, because I know Hollywood Reporter did like a deep dive, it was a tax write-off for them.
Yeah.
Like they would made more money if they canned which is insane to think about it.
So like in the wake of that, all the Ezra Miller stuff, it was just kind of, they really didn't promote the film because they were kind of like, let's just release it and see how it goes.
Yeah, you can't have
and obviously it's not that it's gone that well.
Yeah.
But
I don't know. I thought it was a good fun. I mean, and maybe it's because my expectations are so low when it comes to superhero films right now. Maybe coming out of films like Thor 4, and Ant-Man 3,
7,
whatever. Yeah. I was like, but thought it was a good time.
Okay.
So that is my hot take for this episode. And so now we're gonna move to the community segment in a second. I want to make a correction, or I want to talk about a correction that we have to make because. Thank God we have fact checkers out there. Our listener, Casey, reached out to me to say it is, of course, Terrence Malick and not Terry Gilliam who did tree of life.
Bloody hell, so
Which
sake,
makes
Sophie.
so much sense. And that is a good reminder for me to not be recording after 8.
Well, you're getting close. You got 5 minutes.
That's true. And we're not doing an easy film today. So
No,
yeah,
true.
it'll be fun. Anything else before we move?
Do you know what?
Yeah?
I completely forgot to mention this, and I watched it really quickly. If and people might not be interested in it. If you're interested in like sporting documentaries, which I'm hoping not losing either of you by saying that, and if you enjoyed like the first season of Drive to Survive, the Netflix show about F1, they've just put out a Tour de France one,
I'm watching it.
and it's really good. It's
really
really,
good.
really good because me and Ellie talked about this, and she made a really good point. She was like, watching that Breakpoint tennis show as well, if I didn't know anything about tennis, that wouldn't make me think, oh, tennis is really exciting and I want to watch it and I want to know more. Watching the Tour de France one makes me think, fucking hell, I need to start watching cycling because it sounds like so intense. It sounds so interesting. The different team dynamics and stuff is really, really cool.
Is it still rife with drugs?
Well, they don't really touch on that. They kind of talk about, like, Lance Armstrong, I think, gets maybe mentioned once.
It almost
in like
seems
10
like one of
episodes.
those sports where it's like drugs are basically accepted and it's like more exciting because of it.
It is. I mean, it is insane. Like when you watch the stuff that they do, it is
Yeah.
mad how you think, how could you not be doing this on drugs?
Yeah.
But I think they say that like it is pretty much clean now, but it's crazy. And yeah, it's it does a really good job at kind of, because it focuses on some of the big teams, but then you also get some of the smaller ones who are just kind of like scrapping for places. And yeah, I thought it was really good. So just wanted to throw that in.
What's this?
It's a movie.
No!
Oh, I liked it.
No!
Can I say something?
No!
I don't get it.
What don't you get about it?
Cool. Okay. Community segment. So, yeah, I mean, this past week I've been back on the gram. I was very quiet for a while because I don't know, I feel like inspiration comes and goes with like posting, and there's a sort of expectation, oh, I always have to post and create new content, which is like I didn't feel like it for a while. But now, I don't know, with Threads as well, and I'm on Threads, just quite fun. So, yeah, I mean, I posted a couple of times. So the first question that I ask people that I would also love your thoughts on, I know many people are planning to watch Barbie and Oppenheimer at the same day. There's like this massive debate going on because they're coming out on the same day. So people are like, oh my God, I might as well just watch like both of them at the same time. I think it's spoiler culture also has to do a lot with it because people think are going to get spoiled, which is true. So yeah, I asked people, which film are you watching first, Barbie or Oppenheimer? And people had thoughts, I have to say. As in, like, if you think about it, like, Simon, let me start with you. Like, if you were forced to watch both of them at the same time, like the same day, which one would you go for first and why?
If Barbie is as good as Legally Blonde, which is what, I don't know why, but I imagine that's what it should be like.
Yeah, that's a great...
Like, if they're doing a progressive take on it, I don't know, maybe if it was like that, then I would watch Barbie first, Oppenheimer second.
Okay, but why first? So you want to be entertained first, depressed second?
Are we presuming they're both really good?
Yeah, I think
Okay.
that's the assumption.
Oh, okay.
No, actually, no, we don't make that assumption. But you know what they're about.
Oppenheimer is a nighttime film for me.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
It
interesting.
has to be dark, I
I
think.
can't walk out of Oppenheimer
No.
and it'd be daylight.
That's so interesting.
It's a nighttime
I mean, it's
film.
so long that no matter what time you go and see
Yeah.
it,
Yeah.
probably will be
You want it
nighttime.
finishing about 11:30, 12
yeah.
or something.
Oh, yeah, when you go out of the cinema and the streets are quiet and there's no... Oh,
You can just
God.
reflect.
Yeah. Well, so that's what I was going to say.
Do you know what? I really like doing that. There's a posh Curzon in Mayfair, isn't it? Is there one in
Yes.
Mayfair?
Yeah.
And that's a really good one to walk out of at midnight,
Oh.
and you're like, oh, amongst all these really nice streets in London.
Yeah.
And you can think about the film as you
Yeah,
walk down.
because that's what I was going to say. So, like, I would do Barbie and then Oppenheimer if I had to. If I'd do Barbie then Oppenheimer, purely because I think after Oppenheimer, I'm going to want to like digest it. I'm not going to want to go straight into something else. I'm going to want to be able to take like, at least from what we've seen from both trailers. Listen,
Yeah.
Barbie could throw some serious fucking philosophical curveballs at me that I'm not expecting and need to think about.
Could
But
say feminism, I don't know. Yeah.
yeah. But yeah, I think Oppenheimer is one that I'm going to want to. Yeah, there's going to be. I feel like I'm going to have to like contemplate
Well,
mankind after watching Oppenheimer.
well, this is one of our listeners said, the Cullen music.
That's my friend Dara.
Oh, really? Oh, hi. Barbie in the morning, Oppenheimer in the evening. Start the day happy, end the day with some serious existentialism. So I think that's the way
Nice.
to go.
Yeah, I agree.
A friend of mine said we're doing Oppenheimer followed by Barbie here. I would like to see an explanation for that. Def watching both in one day, but I got to start off with Daddy Nolan.
Why don't
Nolan is a
cinemas?
daddy.
My mum told me that like in her day, you had like the Rocky Horror Show science fiction double feature. It was all like double feature picture shows at the cinema. Like why don't they? That would
think
be a
it's
real thing. I think I would
yeah.
go to that. Like if like your cinema was like, oh, you can watch both.
It wouldn't surprise me if in the
Technically you
because
can't.
there's been so much said about Barbie and Oppenheimer together. It wouldn't surprise me if some cinemas did that.
Yeah.
But the problem I would say is are they different distribution companies?
Yeah, but they could do a deal and it'd probably get more bums on seats.
And actually, they must be because I was reading about Oppenheimer and apparently in Christopher Nolan's contract with Universal, isn't it? Mm-hmm. Apparently, in his contract with Universal, he would release the film through them if they didn't release anything else 2 weeks before or 2 weeks after.
Right.
So
Yeah.
Barbie must be.
that means you've got serious power if you can negotiate.
Well, no,
that.
yeah.
That's-
I mean, when he
Nolan
left,
can do whatever he wants.
Who was it? He left before
Warner Brothers.
Yeah, after he left Warner Brothers, it was like everybody was chomping at the bit to get him. And obviously, Universal were just like, we'll give. I mean, I'd imagine most people were like, we'll give you whatever you want, but Universal.
Yeah, we'll give
It's
you
not a
leeway.
no-brainer though, is it? Because I mean, if you do bet on a flop, it's very, very expensive.
Yeah, but you're betting on a director with a fairly proven track
He's
record.
never,
You're
yeah,
buy-
like
you're
Tenet,
not, yeah.
Tenet aside, he's never flopped.
And even
he's a
realistically,
consistently
Tenet
good.
probably, like obviously Tenet is probably considered a flop because it released in COVID and people weren't going
Yeah.
to the cinema that much. Now, I didn't like the film that much anyway, but I think if that is released, I'm going to say, saying this like it's wartime. It's like if that's not released during COVID time, it probably does better anyway because you'd have his name alone bring such an influx of people to go and see films.
Yeah, that's fair.
But
Well, a listener of ours said about the episode, can't wait to hear about the literal bomb and the wig work.
yeah,
So that's coming.
that is coming.
Someone said Oppenheimer first. Another one said Nolan first because I'm sure I'll need some distraction and color after.
Yeah, well, you're going from a film that has like IMAX black and white in it to
Yeah.
probably the most colourful
To
film that's
the
ever been made.
Oh, can you
maximalist.
watch it at IMAX? Is it an IMAX
Yeah,
film?
yeah, yeah.
Oh, yeah,
I
it
think
must be.
I think Oppenheimer is complete all shot in IMAX. I think.
Someone asked, is it possible to watch both at once? I think that's probably a bit
One in,
extreme.
one in each eye.
Yeah.
Yeah, like in 3D, a red goggle and a blue goggle.
Someone said this one got a lot of likes. I feel like you have to watch Barbie first. I get wanting to watch it after because you'll need to pick me up. But there's also the possibility of Nolan messing up with your mind and emotions so much that you might not allow yourself to focus on the joy of Barbie.
Yeah,
I think you're out of it
agree with
after.
that.
Yeah.
I think it'd be hard. It's kind of like hard to pick yourself up. I think that you
Yeah.
need to just let the nuclear waves wash over you.
The thing is, if I'd watched, say, a film like Downfall, which is one of my favourites,
Oh, nice one.
I might want some light relief afterwards. So
Yeah.
it could work.
I think so.
I do get it.
Yeah, I don't
Take your mind off it.
I don't see Oppenheimer having a good ending. Like,
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's a historical film. We know it hasn't got a good ending.
yeah, I mean, as in, I wonder whether, even though like he's not a kind of director, but with Tarantino, he does take historical.
I think he said he's not though, hasn't he? He's
Yeah,
kind
he's
of
very
like,
biopic led.
He's sticking to historical
Is
actors.
it
yeah.
being released normally in Japan?
I'm not sure.
Oppenheimer.
Oh, that's a good question.
I would have thought it's
Wonder
getting a
what the
global
deal is,
release.
yeah.
Yeah.
I wonder how
Who knows?
it'll be received there.
I don't know. Wow. Okay, moving on to the second mini community segment question. I did share my Mission Impossible film ranking earlier on Instagram and Threads and asked people to share theirs because we know we have the new Mission Impossible coming up next week in the UK.
Yeah.
So, well, first of all, people feel very strongly about Mission Impossible 2, to say the least.
Yeah.
Seeing the comments so funny.
Worryingly so.
Ben, I think I would really love your opinion here. You are the resident expert.
Expert's a strong word, but
Well, I think you are an expert in
Evangelist.
Mission Impossible.
yeah, no, I do. I love them.
To
I
be fair,
absolutely
like,
love them.
yeah, if I reference the scene, you know exactly what I'm talking about. So,
Yes.
so I would say you're the SME, subject matter expert.
Okay, I didn't never heard that before, but okay.
So,
MME.
SME.
MIME. Mission
Oh,
Impossible expert.
ooh.
No, MIE. Yeah. I don't know what I'm saying.
MIE.
Simon, cut this out in the edit.
No, MI is perfect. Would you like to go through some of the answers?
Well, let's go with yours first.
Okay, yeah, let's go.
So
yeah,
yours
mine.
is Fallout, which is the most recent, the Henry Cavill one.
I love that one, but maybe because I don't know, Henry Cavill is just too hot in this film. It was very distracting.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with your first three, I think, in that it's Fallout, then Rogue Nation, then Mission Impossible 1. I agree with that.
Yeah.
Then Ghost Protocol, I don't agree with, because
Yeah.
I find Ghost Protocol kind of boring. I know there's obviously like the amazing building scene and stuff like that, but
I think that sold me probably, but
yeah, I just thought it was quite. I think about like Ghost Protocol has a really forgettable ending. You know, I just think like some of the others I like remember them really clearly, but Ghost Protocol I feel just like is quite forgettable. And it was around the time when Jeremy Renner was being put in every franchise, because it was like, well, maybe Jeremy Renner will take over because he did a Bourne film at that point. Then he was in Mission Impossible.
This
So I think
guy
that was.
never-
I didn't enjoy
never-
that Bourne film.
Well, I
never
think that-
made leading man.
Yeah, and I think
Yeah.
this was at the time where they were probably teeing him up to take over from Matt Damon, maybe teeing him up to take over from Tom Cruise. Both of those men proved that you cannot take their thrones at all. Like there can be no other Bourne.
Doesn't work for me.
No,
he's not leading
yeah.
man material. I mean, I've
He's
said
not.
it before. I mean, he's great for support, but
Yeah, he's
just
very
not.
much a supporting cast. But then you get Ghost Protocol. I wouldn't put it for. I'd probably go Mission Impossible 3 because I have a soft spot for Mission Impossible 3 because it's one of the first ones I remember seeing in the cinema.
Oh, that's a
And I
cute.
always have soft spot for films like that. Then probably Ghost Protocol and then 2. I think
Number one,
I
like
think
number 6.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
objectively the worst in inverted commas is 2.
You are with the majority.
Which,
Yeah.
well, no, I don't seem to be because a
What?
lot of people have put Mission Impossible 2 first.
No,
or at least a couple
no.
of people have. Well, they put it high.
Maybe they mean maybe it's in the reverse, as in like Mission Impossible 2 is the worst. Surely it can't be the best.
Yeah, Will Gibson has Rogue Nation, Mission Impossible 2, then Fallout, then Ghost Protocol, then Mission Impossible 1, which I really don't know, and then Mission Impossible 3. He said, I think GP has the best intro, Fallout the best stunt, and 3 the best villain with Philip Seymour Hoffman. I do agree with that. I like Philip Seymour Hoffman's probably, at least maybe the character's not that interesting, but as an actor, he's probably one of the
Fine.
better ones that they've had. Up until Henry Cavill, I thought Henry Cavill was very good in Fallout, which is probably why I like him. But yeah, it's what else we got? Why is MI2? Yeah, someone says why is MI2 ranking so high in so many lists? This is the child we don't talk about, which is fair. Somebody Ethan Dragon 97 says Mission Impossible 2. Oh no, sorry, I misread that because he has 1 Mission Impossible, 2 Rogue Nation. So that's fine. He's got the original first, which is interesting, and then Rogue Nation second. Which I mean, I think the first one. I think you were saying this before, something like you still really enjoy that one, and it does get a bit silly.
The sweat drip
Yeah.
in the clean room.
Yeah, I think it still really holds up as like a good, solid action film, and it's like a really young Tom Cruise in it as well. Like it's kind of first when he started showing off the real like action hero style. Someone says Mission Impossible 3 is still the best in my opinion, and it took the biggest risk with its story and character. Ethan died for several minutes and we got to see Michelle Monaghan kick some serious ass. I know he dies in Rogue Nation 2, but MI3 did it first and did it better. I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
At least I will say, at least in Rogue Nation, it's a more realistic him being dead for a couple of minutes, because in Rogue Nation, he's dead for a couple of minutes and then wakes up and can barely walk and is all over the place. In Mission Impossible 3, he's dead for a couple of minutes, wakes up and then sprints full speed down the street in Shanghai and then goes to kill this guy. Like he somehow is like all action and ready to go, having been clinically dead for a couple of minutes. Like
Yeah, for me, this doesn't work though, because it goes back to what you said, Simon, several episodes ago that stuck with me. It's like, it doesn't really make a difference, and I don't really care if I know the character is gonna come back from death.
Yeah.
As in, what's the meaning? You said that in the context of like Marvel films. It's like, I don't care anymore because we have the multiverse. So people someone might die in one universe, and I know they'll come back in another. And it's like, the James Bond film, like the latest one, really took a risk with killing.
broke my heart.
Exactly.
Cried like a baby after that film.
Yeah, but you know he's not going to come back, and that's why it broke your heart. If you knew he was going to come back in the next Bond film because someone, I don't know, brought him back to life, you wouldn't care as much.
Like an Extraction too. Yeah.
Like an Extraction too.
Interestingly, No Man is an Island Mate kind of said the similar thing to me. He said, I love the Burj Khalifa scene, but as a whole, I remember very little of Rogue Nation and Ghost Protocol stories. Fallout absolutely is the best. I disagree on Rogue Nation. Rogue Nation. I think that has a lot.
Yeah, a week ago, Rogue Nation.
Yeah, I really like Rogue Nation, and Sean Harris, I think, is a good bad guy, and it has a nice, like, it's Alec Baldwin's first one in the series, right? It's the first one where he's playing like the the Minister of Defense, whatever it is. He's a
Jeremy
nice
Renner
little
is also in it,
cameo
yeah.
in it. Yeah.
And, I mean, to be like, I love the film so much because of Rebecca Ferguson. She's just
Yeah, she's brilliant.
incredible. She's just incredible.
Yeah.
She's too good.
Simon
She's too
Pegg
good.
starts coming into his own really
Yeah.
in those ones as well. Obviously, he's been in it since Mission Impossible. He's been in it since Mission Impossible 3. Mm-hmm. He's kind of like starts off as the analyst in the office, I think, and is in like 1 or 2 scenes maybe in the third one.
Yeah.
And then it's gradually like progressed through it. And I think Rogue Nation is where he really kind of comes into his own.
He's really good.
Yeah. Oh, I love Simon
like
Pegg.
the energy he brings next to like Tom Cruise, who's like always very serious and like too.
Yeah, I think he's a good
like.
Simon Pegg's really good. I think in most things that he does, he's a really good kind of like he can do comedy and he can kind of do action. He can do like comedy, action, and sci-fi. He can kind of do it all really well. In that he's not. You don't always feel he's there to provide the jokes, but then you also feel like he's capable in doing like the action sequences and stuff like that. You know. He's a good foil for people like Tom Cruise, I think.
We're going to take a quick break and we'll be back with Spirited Away.
Oh, look, a message from our sponsor.
G.I. Jane 2, can't wait to see it.
Nah, yo, hold my poodle. Hey, yo, what's up? Y'all got a problem? Y'all want some of this?
Without much further ado,
Here we go again.
Okay, we are back with our final scene segment. This is the first time we're breaking down an animation film, and more specifically an anime film, Spirited Away. Okay, so one of the things I wanted to understand, as I didn't really know anything about, I mean, I knew the film and I did see the film ages ago actually, but I didn't remember much of it, but I didn't know anything about its legacy per se, so I want to figure out where it came from, like did it become like a sleeper hit, like what was the situation, what was the perception around it when it first came out, and the story is actually quite interesting. So Spirited Away was released in the US, showing in just 26 theaters. It made just 450K in its opening weekend. By comparison, the film spent 11 weeks at the top of the Japanese box office at the time. But then months later, after its US premiere, now 23 years ago, Spirited Away became the first and only Japanese film to win Best Animated Feature at the Oscars. So I didn't know that. That's a huge deal. Like it's one, like I feel like non-English films started winning at the Oscars probably 5 years ago. So to have that milestone, it's incredible. So by the end of 2003, the film had played on more than 700 American screens, pulling in more than 10 million. So it does feel like a film it was almost like a very niche film until the Oscars kind of brought it to the spotlight.
I mean, first of all, I mean, I think it is kind of widely regarded as like the number one kind of anime film in people's lists. I think it tends to be like if you ever see lists of like the top 10 anime films of all time,
which is why
Spirited Away is normally quite close to the top.
Which is why it caught my attention, because it's weird for, non-Japanese people to love a Japanese film so much.
I would say watching that film with the context of like Pixar movies and Disney movies, I would say I find that like inherently more watchable than even things like, obviously everybody goes on about The Lion King and stuff like that, but
100%. It's much more fulfilling.
Yeah. It's a much more enjoyable film in that you get some. It is incredibly fast paced, like it's constantly changing and moving. But there's also like it's really nice characters. Like there's almost a worry watching it the first time that, oh God, this little girl's going to be really annoying and it's going to be this thing if we're going to have to watch her journey to become not annoying and like. But actually, like pretty much her parents turn into pigs and that then kind of goes away. That goes away pretty quickly after her parents are turned into 2 giant pigs. So I can see the appeal. Like, I can see what, especially at that time, because in the early 2000s, I mean, animation was going crazy, especially in America.
It's such a, I mean, before we get to the final scene, I wanted to get your reaction in terms of the actual film and what did you make of it? Because Simon, you're laughing. What's happening?
I feel like I'm going to insult a lot of Studio Ghibli purists.
No, go for it.
Really boring.
Okay.
I watched it at 1.75.
You actually you watched it at a faster pace?
I want to know, what language did you guys watch it in?
I watched it in English.
I went Japanese with subtitles.
Yes, that's what I did.
Yeah.
But that's how I usually, like in Greece, this is how it was.
I noticed the sound mix was quite different between the 2 tracks.
I love the soundtrack. I thought the soundtrack was amazing.
Yeah, I just couldn't get into it. I just couldn't connect with it.
You had
I watched-
a hard
yeah, I
time
watched the-
connecting with a girl.
There was one scene I liked where it was like there was like a misty scene where it was like there was lots of it's like towards the end, and there was like a wide shot of like a forest or something with loads of clouds.
Where she goes to the swamp.
That was like
The-
particularly
with
beautiful.
with the bouncing lamp.
I think it was that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just couldn't.
I think it looks
couldn't get
incredible.
into it.
I think some
It
of those
does look
big
all right,
open
but-
sweeping shots and stuff like that with the train and all. I think it looks
And I know it's all
amazing.
done by hand and stuff,
Yeah.
but it still didn't make me like it.
Really? I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, me too. I really liked it. The final scene, and not what I was watching on the big screen, but knowing it's the end of the film, kind of made me reflect on my own journey as a kid.
Okay.
Because the end, like the final scene is about it, like it's about transition, right? You're moving from.
Yeah.
I mean, the film is highly, what's the word? Allegorical, as in like it's an allegory, like pretty much. Like it does, even though we were talking about like a witch and like your parents being turned into like pigs.
No face.
This isn't really what we're. This
Yeah,
is-
like I've written as a note. Haku chunders up an ancient witch's seal, then turns back to normal, but then he's actually a river, lol.
He's not a
but
river.
that's beautiful.
He's a river god.
But that is,
Oh, okay.
I think that is beautiful though,
And then I've
because
written
that
beautiful
is
nightmare.
I guess that's what it is for Chihiro, though, isn't it? That's it's kind of it is like a beautiful nightmare almost. This
Yeah, I don't know if she enjoyed it.
No, I don't
But,
think so.
Yeah, I mean, and then she did. But that's the thing. This is what comes with transitory experiences.
it's about growth for her.
Yeah, exactly. And we have to. I think it's important to see the film and the ending from her perspective and how some things. You know how when we're kids we. Like, because we don't have the right language and we don't have the right words, if we see something strange or something terrifying, we attach a monster to it, right? We attach something so like out of the because that's what we know.
We basically do what cinema has conditioned us to do a lot of the time.
And children's books, right?
Yeah.
So, for example, like the fact that, like in the way I saw it, that the fact that your parents were turned into pigs only means that they are greedy.
I did
And
quite
they are
like the idea that she
materialistic.
was more progressive and mature than her parents, who couldn't help themselves but consume the forbidden fruit.
That's what comes with
That's
youth.
quite cool.
That's what comes with youth. I feel like kids generally are just much more
Less cynical, maybe.
less
Yeah.
cynical, less greedy, and they just And the end ultimately is about the empathy that comes with realizing that your parents have flaws and you just learn to accept them because in the beginning she was a bit sassy with them. She's like, oh Jesus Christ, I can't be bothered with any of this. And then towards the end, when the final scene, when she gets into the car with them, she's like, yeah, actually I can handle moving to a new place.
Because at the start of the film, she's a scared little girl who's like moving to a new place, and you always get. I mean, that's a kind of classic trope.
Well, she's
in
a
films
bit
of,
of
like
a
the
huff,
child,
isn't she? 'Cause
Yeah,
she's
the
like-
child who's been moved away and doesn't want to start a new school and doesn't want to go to a new house.
Similar to
type thing.
Toy Story intro, isn't it? Isn't one of the Toy Stories like that? What film is it when they move to San Francisco because the dad's got a job?
Oh,
they
you're
do.
Inside Out.
Sorry, Inside Out. Yeah, that's what I mean. So Inside Out, it's quite similar.
She's used to like playing ice hockey in the winter and all that kind of stuff, and then
She was also a bit annoying and then
yeah,
kind of redeemed
yeah.
later.
Okay. Well, yeah, and for me, like, when I finished the film, I was like, okay, what did I actually watch? Because I wanted to focus on the last 10 minutes because obviously this is what we want to talk about. And then, so starting with a few final shots, I would say the first final shot is Chihiro with Haku,
yeah.
yeah, in kind of like saying goodbye to each other.
On the steps by the
on
river.
the steps by the river. And then the river, based on what I read, seems to have this like huge significance because obviously like Haku is like the river spirit and whatever that may mean in Japanese culture. I don't want to say anything that I don't know what river represents in Japanese culture, but it was so cool to see. And again, going back to the allegory piece, seeing something like a river being such an important part of the beginning and the end. Like when I think of river, I think of transition and passage and memory of time because it's the river that connects the human to the spirit world, and her like walking across the river, well, more like crossing the bridge, it felt like, oh, this is adulthood. This is a coming of age story in a way. So in the end, it's more like a departure from being scared and afraid and immature to like entering into a world where like it's still scary, but I can handle it.
Yeah, she has to learn to almost be an adult very quickly, and she has to learn to fend for herself in the film.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it where she first meets, I don't know what they're called, the soot people.
Yes,
They're my
that's
favorite.
a great scene.
They're my favorite characters in the whole film.
Yeah, I really like the character in the steam room
the
as
old
well.
guy.
The old guy with all the arms. Yeah, it's a really kind of like
manhandling.
Yeah,
the
because you
equipment.
first meet him as this kind of like almost like grotesque looking thing with lots of arms, and actually is this like really warm, kind character to her in the end. When there are so many like a lot of the like there's a very few people in the world who aren't just greedy. Like that's the thing. It comes but like with the parents eating all the food, like everyone that works in the bathhouse is obsessed with the gold, the idea of the gold and making the money and all that kind of stuff, and kind of permeates throughout the film. Apart from maybe three or four people.
Yeah.
I did quite enjoy the Jabba the Hutt washing scene. That was quite funny.
Yeah. That was so
where she
well
has to
done.
like get that plug out of him. It reminded me of those like Dr. Pimple videos on YouTube.
Oh no.
Yeah.
That was so well done.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think it's highly critical of society. It's very anti-materialistic, very eco-friendly. So yeah, I mean, I don't even know what the target audience was. It speaking to kids?
I think it's
That's the
fantasy.
thing.
It's
I think it's for everyone.
It's a normal family
Yeah.
that on a trip. It's like a kind of once upon a time. You know, it's like you're in the car and you make up a story with your parents, and it takes you to a really dark place and a happy place, and then a dark place again, and then a resolution.
Yeah.
It's a fairy tale fantasy.
Well, in the same way that like all the fairy tale, like when you look at all the fairy tales of what they first were, and like the Brothers Grimm tales and stuff like that, that actually tales like that Snow White are all considerably darker than they were.
Yeah, they are really dark.
Spirited Away does a really good job, and that it kind of there are quite like kind of scary elements to it, like when her parents first become pigs as well, and you're kind of like it's quite shocking
grotesque,
and like grotesque. Yeah, grotesque is a great word actually. And it does that really well.
And they don't hold back either. It reminded me a bit of when I was a kid, we used to read Hans Christian Andersen fairy tale type stories. I don't know what you call them. And there's one called the Matchstick Girl? Did you guys read that?
I think I know
It
the
always
name.
stuck with me.
Yeah.
And it's like this girl
So
and
depressing.
she's like homeless or something on this like outside in the cold and winter, and she's got like a few matches left, and the way it describes them lighting these matches and having a tiny bit of warmth for a really short period of time, it like broke my heart, and I never forgot it. And it is a really powerful story.
I think Spirited Away kind of does a similar thing.
Yeah.
One of the things that I have no idea why was highlighted towards the end is, do you remember? So when Chihiro says goodbye, there you can see the hair tie that was given to her by Zeniba. Or was it Zeniba? Like the twin sister of
grandmother.
Yeah, and it was like a bit of a sparkle. And then she actually
I guess she's leaving these friends that she's made, and the whole thing of that isn't the hair tie is to remind her of her friends, right? Isn't that the thing?
Yeah, so it's
been
more
made,
of a
it's been made by it's No Face and the giant baby and the little fly thing. It's been made by them, and it's to remember that place.
So it's meant to say that she's taking those memories back with her.
Yeah, because her parents don't remember. Her parents don't remember any of it that's going on. And I think it's a reminder
That's
for her.
because it's all a dream then.
Well, to be fair, I actually thought that could be the case up until I saw the hair tie, because I was like,
Oh, is it? Is the hair tie still there in the car?
Yeah, and it's also, again, I don't know if I'm reaching here, but I also remember you're on the car, by the hood, you had like a bird-like statue that resembled very much the bird that she had as a companion. So I wonder whether that's also like a signal of like, oh yes, she's taking those memories back with her, and
maybe
what just experienced wasn't just a dream. Because
I
did fear that.
I don't think
that
at
it was
any
all in
point
her
I
head.
thought. I don't think at any point I thought it was a dream.
The whole thing to me feels like a really powerful children's story that you could be told when you're sleepy at bedtime, and your imagination just goes wild with it.
Yeah.
And you end up.
Oh no, I get that, but I don't think that means that her thing in the story is a dream, though.
Yeah.
I don't think that's what that's getting at.
So I thought, could she have fallen asleep in the car? You know, she's holding the flowers at the beginning, and then she dreamed this whole crazy
I thought of
story.
that.
I think if they made the film now, that's probably what it would be.
If Christopher Nolan,
Yeah, if Nolan made the film, that's what it would be. Because they get out at the end and the car's like covered in, like, that's the other thing. Is like, how long have they been in there? Because the car is covered in trees, like foliage and stuff has grown on the car. Like, how long have they supposedly been in there for?
yeah,
You know?
yeah.
Is the house that they're even supposed to be moving to still there? Is it gone? Is it 50 years ahead? Who knows? How long have they been missing? It's like that show Manifest, where like a plane takes off and lands 5 years later.
And 6 seasons later. So,
exactly.
So funny. Any parting thoughts on the ending? Because the very last shot is them driving away.
It was very expected.
It's very expected.
It wasn't, I wasn't like, that's not where I was expecting it to go.
It's a solid conclusion.
It felt like a very natural like landing for it.
Yeah, 100%. I think that's films like that which do appeal to everyone. I think that's why it's quite nice to have like an ending that kind of ties it all together. Like I'm coming, like even since when we did the Shawshank Redemption episode, I thought like this. Like I'm really enjoy films more now that when they have like a kind of a neater resolution that I'm not expected to think like I will possibly have to do with Oppenheimer, like walk out of it and contemplate everything. Actually, it's just a really nice episode, a nice ending, should I say, in which she has grown up and you know, there's the happiness of having her parents back, but also it's this realization of, well, if I can handle that, moving to a new house mustn't be that scary. And it's a really like a nice thing, as any child who's probably ever moved, like schools or anything like that. It's a really nice thing to go, like, because I changed schools, I think, when I was like 6. And I can't remember what that felt like. But actually, possibly even seeing something like that makes that easy. I'm like, imagine having to go through all that and then thinking, God, going to a new school is hard. Actually, it's not, because you'll meet all these nice people. There will be people there that you don't agree with and you don't get along with. But there's a way to do it. I thought it was, a really sweet ending, I think. I'll put it that way.
That's beautiful, Ben. I think we have to end with that.
Perfect.
Stop it.
Now can we go to the pub?
Cool. Well, we saw the ending again. Wonderful film, wonderful message. And yeah, that's it for the episode of That Final Scene. We hope you enjoyed our conversation and learned something new about Spirited Away. It was a tough ask. If you have any comments, questions, or suggestions for future episodes, please let us know by DMing us.
Everyone's got to say sideways, so we have to do it for an episode.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it's happening. Yeah, let's do it. I'm in. Or following us at That Final Scene on Threads, because Twitter is dead and game over. Get ready for our next episode. We'll be back in 2 weeks with a final scene of the much anticipated Oppenheimer. But please expect, our takes on Mission Impossible: The Reckoning Part 1 and Barbie, most likely. I think I'm going to try.
Does that mean that we've got to watch 3 films in the cinema
You don't
before
have
the
to.
next?
We don't have to.
No,
But we probably should.
Oppenheimer, 100%.
Yeah. That's mandatory.
I'm gonna aim.
Mando.
I'm gonna aim for all 3.
Mandy.
Mission Impossible first, Oppenheimer second.
That's what you're gonna do.
Yeah, Barbie third.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mission Impossible's coming out next week, so you have a bit of time.
I think I'm going to Mission Impossible next weekend, and then I might do Oppenheimer Friday, Barbie Saturday. I don't think I'll do both in a day.
Yeah, no, that's a bit
wait and
extreme.
see.
Oppenheimer is 3 hours long. You should,
Gonna need a lot of popcorn for that Oppenheimer.
Yeah,
Filthy.
Yeah, I
So,
can't wait.
that is gonna be
A gallon of Coke.
Stop. Oh, God, I wish you could get buttered popcorn in this bloody
with
country.
Maltesers on the side.
What are your recommendations? What should we eat during Oppenheimer?
It's
going to be long.
Depends how shameful I want to feel at the end of it.
Okay, thank you so much for listening, and until next time, keep watching great films. Goodbye.
Did you like it? Did you like that?
Did I like it? I loved it.
I had no idea you could milk a cat.
I have nipples, Greg. Could you milk me?
Good morning.
Morning. Good morning.
Oh, and in case I don't see you, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.